In this video, we're going to take a look at how to make this awesome gift. This item makes a great groomsman gift, a birthday gift, or just a gift for any of your buddies for any event in life. So if you're ready, let's get started. For this project, we actually had two of the same orders that someone was using for a groomsman gift. So we found two metal toolboxes on Amazon, and then we decided to make the same exact gift so that he could make them custom for his groomsmen. So for this project, we actually used blue pine, so you can see the really cool wood grain pattern on the wood. And so we clamped down the wood, and then we used our tape measure to get the correct measurements. And then we used that speed square both to strike the line and to run the circular saw. And then what we did was we just moved the wood down a little bit and reclamped it to the workspace. And then we use our circular saw and our speed square to cut another piece. And then you can see we slide it down again. And now what we're doing is we're using that first piece of wood that we cut out as a template. And we're going to go ahead and use our pencil to strike that line so we have the same exact size piece of wood. And then we're using that speed square again to run the circular saw. And now we need to cut that little lip off the wood. We keep the table saw unplugged while we're working near the blade. So we're going to raise it up so that the saw is about a half a tooth blade above the workpiece. And now what we're doing is lining up the saw blade and the fence so we can make sure we cut off that little strip of wood. As you can see, we use the push sticks and run it through. And now we've got the flat side on the wood. And now what we're doing is we're actually just finding the measurement that was inside of the toolbox. So we're going to have this wood be the correct size once we cut off that second lip on the other piece of the wood. So we just adjust the fence real quick, and now we're going to run it to that table saw. And notice we're using the push sticks for safety. We don't want to get too close to that blade. And now we put the blade down and unplugged everything. So we just go ahead and do a dry fit to see if that wood is going to fit properly inside the toolbox. You see it did. So now here what you see is we actually had a center line and then 3 or 4 other lines for the shape of the bottle that we were using. So we went ahead and clamped that wood piece down, and then what we're going to do is we're using that Forstner bit to do some drill pilot holes inside of the wood. Now these holes are going to help us to be able to use our jigsaw, and those pilot holes are going to help it to where we can start the jigsaw and not have to maneuver it around in weird ways. And so we went ahead and put 5 holes total inside that template and that drawing. So now what we're going to do is clamp the wood down, and then we are going to go ahead and grab the jigsaw. And when we do, we're just going to start cutting it. So we run the saw blade once through there. All right, so now what you can see is we're using that jigsaw just to trace along the line that we drew on the wood. And now we're going to clamp it down, and we're going to run the jigsaw on the other side. Again, just following along the lines with that blade. It's a very easy process. So now what you're going to see is we're going to rotate the template around after we take this out, and we'll see that there's still in the corners as little pieces of wood. And so what we're going to do is we're going to rotate that template around and make any final cuts that we need to do. So with the jigsaw, the first time around we were cutting out that template, we were just doing a rough cut, and now we're cutting out the little extra pieces that we don't need inside of there. You can see we're cutting out the corners and just making a little bit more of a smooth cut all the way around there before we move to our next step using our palm router. All right, now you see the bottle fits perfectly inside that template. And now we're going to use our router bits. So we went ahead and grabbed the round over bit from our router bit case, and we're going to use that with our palm router. And this round over bit is going to give us a rounded edge on the inside of the template. So we're just going to go hit that release lever, and we're going to go ahead and remove the base. And now we're going to use that spindle lock button to hold the collet in place so we can undo that bolt and slide the bit into the actual collet itself. And use that spindle lock button, finger tighten it, then use the wrench to tighten it down just to make sure that bit is nice and secure. Now once we know the bit is secure, we go ahead and put the base back on. So hold that spindle lock button and the release lever just to slide it on. And now what you'll see is we can actually adjust the height of the bit that it sticks out, and that'll determine how much rounding we get on the actual wood piece. So now we're ready to go. We go ahead and put that battery on. And now that we know that the battery's in place and it's working, we're just going to clamp down the wood piece, and then you'll see how we run the palm router across the edge. And now you're going to see what that rounded over edge looks like once we finish running a certain section of it. And as you can see, we've got that nice rounded edge compared to the straight edge on the other side. So what we're going to do now is we're going to go ahead and clamp everything down and just finish routing around the outside of that piece using that palm router. And so now here we are, we've got everything going with that palm router. And then we're gonna go ahead and release the clamps and just take a look and see how it looks. Everything's rounded over nice. The only thing you want to remember is we've got a couple burn spots, and that happens when you let that palm router run too long on certain portions, so you have to make sure you keep the router moving. And now we've got our orbital sander. So what we're doing is we're just sanding down any of the extra splinters that might be sticking out, any hard edges, anything like that, because now we're gonna get ready to put on the finish. So here we are, and we've got our polyurethane. We're just using a sponge brush to apply it. We want to make sure that we apply it to all the different surfaces around that part of the wood. The reason for that is when they're actually using this piece of wood inside of the toolbox, there might be any type of liquid that you're using inside of that project. So you want to make sure that if anything spills on there from the bottle, it's going to be covered and there's going to be no issue since we've already stained the wood. Alright, now what we're doing is we're using that Forstner bit again, and we're using the tip of the Forstner bit to mark exactly where we want to hit the holes for the shot glasses. So what we're doing is we're going to get everything going, and now you can see, because we use the center tip of that Forstner bit, that actually gives us a nice start on where we're going to actually push that Forstner bit through with the drill to make the first and the second holes for the shot glasses. So here we are, we're running that Forstner bit, and that's going to give us that nice clean hole. And now we're going to use that palm router and the round over bit just to go ahead and make sure that the holes are nice and smooth for the shot glasses. And you can see what the difference looks like with that rounded over edge versus the straight edge. And now we're going to use the palm router to hit that second edge. Alright, and that's what they both look like. So now we're going to go ahead and use that orbital sander again. We're going to go ahead and sand down one more time just before we get that second layer of finish on there. We're going to knock down any splinters or anything. And now what you're seeing is we're adding that second coat of the polyurethane. This is just going to give us a nice second coat, make sure the finish is good, make sure it looks nice and dark, and that all the grain patterns and everything from that blue pine are popping really nicely. So this is going to give us a nice sealing finish, and then we're going to move on to the next part. So what you're seeing here is the shot glasses actually don't fit in the original holes that we put in the wood. So what we had to do was we had to figure out a way to fix that. So we found this hole saw drill bit, and what we're going to do is just enlarge the holes by using this drill bit. So what you can see is that hole saw circle goes onto the actual drill bit portion, and then you've got that bolt that locks on, and this will give us a nice circular hole. And it's just the same size as the shot glass, so that's going to give us the correct size hole that we want. So now when we're using this drill bit, there's a couple things we have to remember. Right now what we're doing is we're drawing the circle that's the correct size, but in order for this drill bit to work, we have to make sure that we have something to drill into as opposed to just trying to line up the hole. And what you can see is when I release the clamp here, this is the result if you don't have something to drill through and it chews up the wood. So the way to work around that, I grabbed a scrap piece of wood and I clamped it down so that center drill bit portion of the hole saw drill bit would actually catch on that piece of scrap wood on the bottom, and that would allow us to catch the drill bit and drill straight into the actual workpiece. So what you see here is it actually took out that extra wood, and you see how much bigger the hole is now, and the shot glass fits right through. So now we're going to go ahead and see the difference in the size of holes. And now what we're going to do is we're going to clamp down the wood, and we're going to do the same exact thing but with that second hole. And now you can see that second hole is working just as well. Alright, so we're going to clamp everything down, and now we're going to use that palm router and the round over bit again to get that nice rounded look on both holes. And now you can see we've got that nice looking round over on both holes, and the shot glasses fit through. So now what we have to do is we have to make some kind of base inside the toolbox, because you see the bottle goes right through that template. And so we're using this router bit box as a template to see if this is large enough to hold that bottle up to the height we want. And as you can see, once we rest it on the box, it's just the right height. So now we're going to check and see if that box also holds the shot glasses up the correct height. And then we check, and it looks like those are just about the height we're looking for. So what we're going to do is just measure the box, and we're going to see that's just under 2 inches. So I had this piece of scrap 2x6 laying around, so I decided to use my circular saw and just rip a few pieces. Unfortunately, the wood kept sliding around because I didn't clamp it down, and so I was having a little bit of a tough time with the wood slipping out a little bit, as you can see, but then I was able to just go ahead and rip those pieces. And then I found a piece of fence picket, There's just scrap wood that I decided I was going to have to glue on there as well. And this is going to give a nice flat base to hold up the bottle and to hold up the shot glasses. So all I had to do was just get some wood glue on there and just hit it with a couple brad nails until the glue dried. And I figured that that would be a nice base to use underneath the bottles and the shot glasses. Alright, so as you can see, they're just about 2 inches, so that's the perfect height. So all we're going to do now is just go ahead and put those templates in there and just do a dry fit and see if it holds up the bottle. As you can see, it does. And then we just go ahead and check the shot glasses as well, and it did. So now what we're going to do is just put those frames there and then see if those are exactly where we want them. And it looks like we can adjust it just a little bit. And now we know that those are exactly the height we want, so we're just going to hold them in place and just draw a pencil. Because what we're going to do is we're going to use wood glue just to hold it in place. Because these aren't going to be moving and because they're not going to be load bearing or anything, you can see that we drew the lines in there. And the wood glue should be fine just to hold everything in place. So as you can see, we just put some wood glue right there on the bottom of the toolbox. There you can see it. And now you can see we're just going to go ahead and put the wood onto the wood glue and then we're going to let it dry. So now what we need to do is check and see if it'll hold up the bottle properly, but also if it's going to hold up the shot glasses. So now what we're doing here is we're going to go ahead and put in the base that'll hold the shot glasses up as well. So we're going to do the same exact thing, just hold it in place and mark it with our pencil. And then what we're going to do is we're going to go right between those pencil markings and we're going to put some wood glue. And now we're going to let that glue in place as well. And then what you'll see is we now have those frames in place to hold the bottle and the shot glasses. Alright, so now that those pieces have glued and the glue is dried, we're going to go ahead and attach the top wood portion as well. So now you'll see there's a couple ledges right there on the right and the left. We're just going to hit some wood glue in there, and that's going to hold the top wood piece in place as well. So go ahead and put some bead glue. And then one thing I realized once I put the glue in when I was filming is that I actually put it in backwards. So I had to pull it out and actually flip it 180 degrees off camera once I realized the mistake I had made. Alright, so now we're going to go ahead and do the final fit. We've got the bottle fitting perfectly. We've got shot glass 1 and we've got shot glass 2. So here's the final product, and as you can see, it looks very nice. That blue pine looks awesome. The shot glasses fit perfectly. The bottle fits perfectly, and everything's snug. This project can make a great gift for a groomsman, it can make a great gift for birthdays, or for any of your buddies in your life. So I hope this video helped, and hopefully you'll have fun making this project. If you stayed through the entire video, thank you. Please like this video and subscribe to the channel to get notifications about upcoming future episodes. I hope you have a great day, and remember, let's always continue learning interesting things.